All right, we are live on YouTube.
Okay, I now call to order the EdTech meeting of December 4th at 5:12 p.m. Will the clerk please take roll call?
Commissioner Warner,
Here.
Commissioner Peck,
Here.
Commissioner Allen,
Here.
and Commissioner and Chair for the evening, Moorhead.
Present.
Excellent. Commissioner Case, Congleton, and Lean have all been excused for the evening. We do have a quorum.
Thank you. Did anyone submit a public comment in advance?
They did not, and we have no attendees.
All right. We'll move to the consent agenda. Are there any items that anyone would like removed from the consent agenda? Hearing nothing, can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second,
I second.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion is passed. Off to the staff reports.
First one would be College Place Winterfest. Athen, could you cover that?
Yeah, hi, I'm Athen. I am your city events coordinator. This Thursday, December 7th, we have our Winterfest. Let's see, it's from 4 to 6 o'clock in the fire department. We are going to have a small bazaar and a Santa meet and greet. And then 6 o'clock is when that lighted parade starts down College Avenue. And then right after the parade is the fireworks show over at the old Rogers School Field at the corner of Bade and 4th.
And then how many parade entries are we at?
Parade entries, we are at 41. And then for vendors, we are at 11 plus Santa. And that includes a food truck. We have kids crafting, snack vendors, and hot chocolate bar.
Thanks.
Sounds great. We moving along. The downtown parking lot discussion, Mike?
Yeah, thank you. So for this item, there's just a couple of advisory discussions I'd like to have here. So as you all may recall from a couple of months ago, we have an adopted tax increment financing district that covers Stone Creek, as well as the downtown College Avenue area. One of the projects in that is the development of parking lots, because the one of the things that has stymied College Avenue as far as reinvestment has been right now any developer develops has to provide their own on-site parking, and as such, a lot of the lots along College Avenue are really narrow and long, so it doesn't lend itself well to that. The idea is use some of these TIF dollars to essentially get some property, then engineer parking lots, and then build some parking lots. And once we have the shared use parking lots, that would in essence enable us to waive that parking requirement for College Avenue. So a couple of sites that we're looking at, and I just want to garner feedback from this commission on which ones you would like to see us drill more into. For the first concept, would be some property just north of the Enable Art Studio between that and the gas station. There's a bunch of underutilized land that is owned by the university, but they have expressed that they would be open to doing a long-term ground lease to develop a parking facility. So it would basically straddle behind Enable Art and then behind some of those homes that the university owns. That is parking concept 1. Parking concept 2 is at the Walla Walla University. They bought the Umpqua Bank building and they're using it, from what we can tell, is a student union thing. But the parking, they really aren't using any of it at all. So the general concept there would be basically rebuild the parking lot that's in a pretty decayed state at the moment and have that be a shared public parking facility. And it's right on a key intersection too. Parking lot option number 3 would be on North College, and this is between their student life building and then the Bangkok restaurant. They have an empty parcel of land just north of their student life, and then the backs is some of the properties that they own housing on Ash Avenue can also be developed as a public parking facility, potentially with an egress out on a Whitman Drive. So that would be option number 3. And again, these university lots would be more of a long-term ground lease, and they've expressed that they would be open to whatever term we would want, even like a 99-year one. Parking lot 4 is another university property. This is on North College, basically across the street from Student Life. And this, in essence, is behind some other homes that they own and turn that into parking. Or the 5th option would be right across the street from City Hall. There's an older home, but then right behind that, there's a large unutilized piece of property that basically just has weeds and grasses and at times a bog on it, and essentially turn that into a shared parking lot. And this property owner is open to an outright sale. So in this case, it would be where we would essentially purchase property. And it's in the middle of a block, so it's underutilized. So those are some of the 5 options ahead of us. So the question 1 would be essentially, which of the parking sites do you think would be ideal to prioritize as we drill deeper on this? Because we aren't going to have money to do all 5 of them. We programmed in a TIF to do about 2 of them. So hypothetically, we could do like 2 of the 5.
I would vote the priorities be 1, 2, 5, 3, 4. And I think 1 and 2 would be ideal to start with. For obvious reasons, yeah.
I totally agree with that.
Are they going to all hold about the same amount of parking spots?
I really don't know that yet, because before we would know that, I would really need to enter and make sure that they're willing to do the lease agreement with us, because in order to identify numbers, we have to pay an engineer and be doing engineering work. I don't want to be out that money before we know for sure we have the property. Hey, well, if no one else has a prioritization on that, then the other decision point, I would like some guidance on. I thought this was a little interesting. There's a LinkedIn article in Strong Towns where Muskegon, Michigan has done some of these shared parking lots. And occasionally when you do these, it can create a little bit of a dead space when stuff isn't going on. So what they've done to ensure that the parking lots remain active is they've actually built like these little sheds they use to essentially have startup businesses in. And I'm curious if this is right now there's a grant available from USDA Rural Business Development that would actually pay for this sort of thing. And I'm curious if this is something that this body would be interested in us pursuing, because at least according to the Strong Towns article, they were able to do 12 living buildings ranging from 90 to 150 square feet at the cost of $5,000 to $6,000 per chalet. Because especially with that property across from City Hall and even the one behind Enable Art, my fear is if we don't have active uses on it, there'll be times where even with the best lighting and stuff, it causes dead space. So making sure we still have activity along it.
So having space for pop-ups in
Yeah.
communities now is fabulous. It's a great starter for economic development, and I would be 100% for that. There's so many entrepreneurs looking for a way to get started. I think that would be a great model.
Okay.
So the pop-ups would just be aligned across one perimeter strip of the property, and it wouldn't really obstruct any of the available parking spaces.
That would be the idea, that we would put it along like one side of the parking lot, and then that way it wouldn't be obstructing available spaces.
Yeah, you can kind of see that in that aerial shot. Yeah, I agree. I think that sounds like a great idea.
Okay, well, then I can investigate putting in that grant. It's due in February, and it pays for this sort of thing, about 100% of it. So that way, once we establish a parking lots, we could look at doing this as well. So that way it's not a dead zone.
Awesome. Okay. Do we want to go on to the BEAD grant money, Mr. Rizzatello?
Yes. So it's been some time since we've discussed this, but the state broadband office, they are actually looks like getting the money out the door to be working on the broadband. And what you can see is that in the Internet Gaps image specifically, we have some dead zones in this community where it's underserved. Where you're lucky if you're able to get like a gig of internet, even in ideal circumstances. And Ziply is coming into areas, many areas of town that were underserved and backfilling them. However, the big issue is that there's still quite a few areas. When you look at that map, anything in red and green or yellow is stuff they're building out, but a lot of the pink crisscross stuff in the map, those were areas that have been identified as like dead zones in the city. And in talking with Ziply, them outright going into those areas just because they do a cost benefit analysis and see if it pencils for them, they wouldn't do it themselves in the near future. However, what they have offered is if we would like jointly pursue a BEAD grant, which is that pass through federal money, it's going to a state level. If we put in a BEAD grant for $316,000, they essentially would provide a match of $741,000 to, in essence, cover some of those dead zones. So we have a couple options afoot. I mean, we could build our own conduit, which over time we've been doing in areas, but the issue then is that you're still having to have someone manage it, and we don't have like our own broadband department here, so that doesn't make a whole ton of sense. Meanwhile, with them, they're building in a lot of the city right now. So potentially, and the nice part with doing a partnership with them is their conduit and fiber lines, they don't just keep for themselves. So they're actually open access. So they do sell to other providers, and they would dedicate some fiber strands for city use as well in these neighborhoods. So I realize it's a little bit unique because usually we do grants with just ourselves and so forth, but in this case, they are the only ones that have really presented like a forward way of looking at some of these donut holes, and some other providers in town that won't really be named. We've mentioned to them over several years, like, hey, why don't you get in there, or let's turn in something together, because the state's had grants before this, but they never really would move on it. So this seems to be some forward momentum. So I just want to put this in front of you all, if in general you think this is a good route to go.
I would say yes, if they're willing to work with us, and it's grant money.
Yeah.
Might as well move forward.
I agree.
Agree as well.
Okay. Okay, well, that's very helpful. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. You're gonna touch on the economic development indicators from the port?
I'm not gonna go over every single one, but I just want to make sure you all have an awareness of this for those of you that don't go to these meetings. So every other month, the Port of the Walla Walla has what's called the economic information meeting. And it's held over at the Port of the Walla Walla Airport, the conference room, typically around like noon to 1:30. Typically second Tuesday of every other month. And they'll have guest presenters, but then they'll also go over a lot of data points for our community and the General Valley. So I just included what some of the reports are, and the reports that they give out tend to ebb and flow every other month, but in general, the gist of this, I would say, is compared to other counties, unemployment, we're definitely holding our own. Same with so I mean, we have very low unemployment, and then even the other thing too is the home sale prices. I mean, a lot of that is no secret. Like when you look at chart 13, as far as growth in prices, where we've been and where we're going, it had a little bit of a decline for the year, but still overall historically quite a bit higher than in the history. So I mean, now for Q3 2023, the median in Walla Walla County is over 400,000, which is a lot of money. So I'll include these as the port gives them, just so you have that data, so that way you have it, since that is held at like a bizarre time of the day. But I want to make sure you had that information. Any questions?
Those are great reports. And I'm sorry, what is the timing for the meeting each month?
Yeah, so it's not each month, it's every other month. And typically it's the second Tuesday, and it's every other month. So the last one was in November, and the next one will be in January. And it's from noon to 1:30 p.m. over at the airport conference room.
Thank you for including in the report. And lastly, the development activity report, Mike?
Yep. Yeah, so I'll touch on all the updates of everything. So Project Inspire, that would be the fast food tenant adjacent to Chipotle. We're expecting activity on that this winter. Won't be a drive-through, but it'll be like a sandwich place. Across the highway, the Burger King, I'm expecting they'll be open by next month. So they're moving really quick on that. Project Cobble. That's the hotel. We're still working on a development agreement. I will be upfront with you all to make the various financial dynamics of that project and probably some future stuff out at Martin Airfield coalesce. I believe we may be looking at a future utilization of a second tax increment financing district, and except the what this one would be is as opposed to our first one, which was going to be back to a debt. This one would be more of like a pay-as-you-go one over the coming years. So we will probably be investigating boundaries and doing the whole 9 yards on looking at doing a second district. So stay tuned for that because we're trying to make sure the hotel thing actually happens. Going to page 2, Project Bullseye. Same issue. It's on that site, but there's some transportation improvements that need to occur. So we're being very guarded on that, as well as Project OPH, which is a breakfast restaurant. Project Q is over on the Walla University campus. This would be another fast food Mexican restaurant. It's actually a national chain that seems to be moving forward. I believe if this does happen, this would probably come to fruition at the end of the summer just because of how contracts are with the food services at the campus. Project Y is also that Whitman and Myra site. This would be a local grocer chain. And by local, I mean more of like an inland northwest local thing. So, but again, the transportation improvements, that's going to be clogging up a lot of this. So we may be looking at the second TIF. Project MP, this would be another hotel. I believe we're probably going to see forward movement on this throughout the spring and summer, and this would be over by the Hop Thief area. Project Red is property across from the high school, and there's continued negotiations with the landowner on that. Project FM. They're going to be monitoring the progress at Lakeside Development off Emma before they commit. We're going to be watching that one carefully because a lot of these large scale national grocers have merged and through the SEC filings, I'll just say that FM, should it be FM, may end up being something else because of how it's all settling out. So we'll see how that goes. Project C, they've still not provided an update on that. And then Project Flight. Well, there's no update on that. I will say, I know they've done a little bit of a flight plan with the State Department of Transportation and their airport division. So in that case, they do have a plan afoot to put a multitude of hangars and for hobby airplanes and redoing the runway. So I think we're going to start seeing some significant reconstruction work out at Martin Airfield probably following summer or so. And also the owner Terragon, they're working with us where we have filed a grant application to the State Community Economic Revitalization Board so we could do an infrastructure plan out there, because Martin Airfield, we're really ground truthing that area because 5 years ago, we originally were going to pull out of there before it changed property ownership. So we really don't know a lot of what's out there. Now getting in a residential side, Haven Homes. We're being told likely that this is probably going to transpire next year. A lot of this was just delayed with just how the economy has been. Villages at Fort Walla Walla, Whitman Drive, you can go out there. The grading is underway. I wouldn't expect buildings to take root though until March. I know in early March, a developer Fairing Group wants to have a groundbreaking, so you'll all be invited to that once we know when it'll be occurring. Next site, Sermon Development. This is Spitzenberg. We've issued the building permits. It's on them when they want to break ground, but that would be an apartment building right across the street from Wenzel Nursery. And then Lakeside College Holdings, we continue to work through the master plan development with them. They'll probably take a lot of next year getting through that process because it's a substantial development with a lot of the residential. So a very complex project afoot. Villages of Garrison Creek Phase 11, they are actually finally putting some of the infrastructure in over there, and it's a silent investment group based out of Montana that has Washington players involved in it. And they're the ones who are developing the donut hole in Garrison Creek with homes. Vesper Project, that's the apartment complex kitty corner from us down at 8th and College. Should be complete first quarter. It's moving according to plan. Deer Meadows, this is a little subdivision of single family homes off Southwest 12th. We are expecting that to start moving, we would hope by the spring or so. Martin Airfield, we believe the airfield updating will be a lot sooner. The residential component, we believe, will be some ways out. So we believe they have an infrastructure plan we're working with them. That'll really tell a lot of the story about what the needs are out there. And then Salerno Estates, that is the last development that's out on Southwest 12th, south side of the road, right before you head out of the city limits. And site plans have been approved over there. So we're just working with their engineer on a couple of issues because there's some power poles that have to be relocated and things like that. But those will all be like on basically acre lots out there. And there'll be a transition into the rural zone out in the county. So that is an update on everything that's going on. Any questions?
All right, thank you very much, Mike. The next meeting is set for January 8th. And can I get a motion to conclude the meeting?
I motion to conclude the meeting.
Thank you. And a second.
I second that motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Warner. There's no objection. The meeting is now concluded at 5:39. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.